Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi asma'in. Rabbi shrahli sadri wa yassirli amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma warzuqni fahma wa amalan sholihah. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let's say thanks to God, to Allah, that this time being we can get together here. Although God blessed us with great health and a great set, so that we can get together here for the conferences. Dear ladies and gentlemen, presenter, as well as the participants and invited speaker, it's really honored for me to be part of this activity. My presentation, entitled State of the Art of English Language Teaching, Pedagogical Foundation for Professional Teachers. So there are two verses here. Number one is State of the Art. So I'm going to talk about state of the art, the cyclical patterns of English language teaching, and this become the foundations as professional teachers. My presentation, so that we can go on and on and on in systematic way. I'll present number one, teacher professionalism. As we know, in nowadays, especially in Indonesian context, that teachers are regarded as profession. Due to their professionalism, they get certain incentive beyond their salary. So, teacher professionalism, and then state of the art of ELT. When I talk about the past and then the current moment, so that we know our position. Starting from classical tradition, and then behaviorist tradition, cognitive tradition, and then humanist tradition, SLA tradition, constructivist tradition, and 21st century tradition. So from this, we know for sure where our position is now. Okay, so students, especially because I can see that mostly all the audience here are students, I want you to instill in your mind, at least there are three parties in language teaching. So we are language teachers, our job is teaching language. So at least three parties in language teaching. We have language and culture, up to sparable part, insparable part, language and culture, what to teach, what language to teach. So of course in this case we have also to understand about the linguistic knowledge. So that's why in our curriculum, commonly we also give linguistics to the students. Yeah, by understanding linguistics, so we know for sure what to teach. So linguistics, okay. Yeah. Hello. And that these three, yeah, so we have to acknowledge of these three. Teacher, teaching, learner, learning. Okay, so professional teacher. Among the three, I will focus on teacher teaching, pedagogical competences. Professional teachers. As professional teachers, we have to have a kind of qualification in Indonesia, especially in Indonesian context. At least we have to have three qualifications. The first is the qualifications that we are supposed to be graduate from. For example, I'm English teacher, so we graduate from English department. Yeah. And then competencies, and then certification. Instead of having a certificate of English department, we have also to have a kind of certified teachers through some kind of course, for about, 1 year, so we can get certification. From this, we are going to focus on competencies. So we know that as professional teacher, we have at least to have competencies, 4 competencies. That is professional competence, pedagogical competence, and then social competence and interpersonal competence. Okay, so teacher-student academic qualification, 4 competencies, educator certificate. So in the middle, 4 competencies, we have professional, pedagogical, social, as well as interpersonal. And I want to focus on just one of the competencies, that is pedagogical competencies. So among the 4 competencies, I'm going to focus only on pedagogical competencies. So in red ink here, pedagogical competence is the ability to manage students. So management. I myself very often have to manage myself in study management. I'm getting older, so I have a voice management, energy management, but this kind is different things. So pedagogic competence, the ability to manage students' learning. We have to manage the classroom, be able to manage the students. Okay, just like learner learnings, we have to understand the learners so we can manage them. Without understanding the learner's characteristic, we are not able to manage them. And then the implementations of learning, and of course evaluation or assessment, especially to develop students. So when we have questions, what is teaching language for? Is to develop the students' competences, especially communicative competence. Always something wrong with this. Okay, so pedagogic competence. Dealing with pedagogic competence, especially professional teacher, we know for sure, especially dealing with the law of teachers, lecturers, professional educator, especially number 14, 2005, that we are supposed to teach, guide, direct, training, assessing, etc. So this is law of teachers and lecturers. The law required people who have blah, blah, blah. So I think I want to underline, especially on the ranking, that is necessary competence in accordance and with duty, especially the pedagogical competence. Pedagogical competence, what is pedagogical competence? The ability to manage teaching learning process. This is regulation of teachers' academic qualification standard of teachers' competence. Indonesian Republic, number 5, 2005. So I will focus especially on the number 2, 3, 4, 5. Not all pedagogical competence. Number 1, mastering the theory of learning. So as language teachers, we are to master the theory of learning. The theory, you may say theory or concept or foundation or philosophy. So mastering the theory of learning and the principle of education learning. And then developing curriculum related to the subject matter. And then conducting educational learning. And then number 5, utilizing informations and communication technology for learning. So especially number 5, we have already discussed by Munira from India. Then we are going to focus especially on number 1, mastering the theory of learning, and then how it's related to teaching learning process. State of the art. I stated here, state of the art. Because what happened right now is also based on what happened in the past. Because you see that in history we witness English language teaching methodology, English language teaching technique that always changes from time to time, from period to time. And then why change? Why change? Because in search of special or typical or suitable methodology, or maybe also the change because of the way human beings perceive of certain things differently. Learning theory changes, teaching methodology changes. The concept of language changes, what we teach to the students also changes. In the past, for example, the level of teaching unit is at the level of sentence, but nowadays we have to teach a text. So we have to understand what is text, what is non-text, what is genre, etc. Because you see one of principle for developing the 2013 curriculum in Indonesia recommended by the government right now and with to teach. So we have to teach the text. The benefit of understanding the change, so it's no problem but what's going on beyond us, what's going on outside that. But if we know why change, and then it's very easy for us to get possession of ourselves, not to get confused, because very often teachers always complain, changing the government, changing the prime minister, and also change the curriculum, always change the curriculum, not yet established, and then another curriculum, and then the teacher becomes confused. But if we have got the understanding about the basic foundations, about the principle, about the theory, about the concept, no matter what happens, so will not get confused with all the changes. So you see, it tries to encourage ELTIC teachers and practitioners to understand more about pedagogy, philosophy, principle, or sometimes we say theory, pedagogical theory. And then provide major insight of the any changes or innovation in ELTIC that will always change. Very often, young generation is very adaptive to change, but not people in my age. It's very difficult to change. Always resistant to change. But young generation is very adaptive to change, I'm sure, because they live in a changing world, unlike us. Live in a very, not dynamic world, okay, change again. Why change? Paradigm change. Theory, change so what? At least there are two foundations. When we are going to design curriculum, we are going to design teaching methodology, at least two theory that we have to know. Two theory or two principle. Number one is theory of language, because we are teaching language. In the past, it's colored by a traditional linguistics, but I tell you that for the current curriculum, the language theory recommended by the government is systemic functional linguistics. So change the paradigm in language, and then change paradigm, especially in language learning. Change paradigm in theory of language will also change the paradigm of language competence. So maybe in the past, in my age, I was the product of heuristic theory, that basically when we learn English, we just learn grammar, so grammatical competence. But nowadays, the government recommended communicative competence, especially addressed by Marshall. It is stated that Marshall theory is pedagogically oriented. So change the curriculum and as well as change the, change paradigm. Change the language teaching. Theories or principles which underline the design of curriculum, design teaching methodology, as well as instructional material. I can find out at least there are, how to say, yeah? There are 4. That is behaviorism, cognitivism, humanism, and constructivism. So we can see like this, the marriage between language theory, learning theory is foreign language teaching methodology. Take for example, the marriage between language theory of traditional linguistics or structural linguistics with learning theory called behaviorism is the existence of audio-lingual method, etc., etc. This was in the past. So this is always change, state of the art. The cyclical patterns of ELT, especially in Indonesian context. I can start with classical tradition, and then behavioristic tradition, cognitivist, humanist, and then SLA tradition, but it's not quite popular in Indonesia, SLA tradition. And then constructivist tradition. And of course, for the current moment, 21st century traditions. We are now at the transitions. The government actually recommend us to use IT, but a lot of teachers are not yet, well prepared with IT literacy. So we are currently at the tradition of constructivist tradition. So the cyclical pattern, I can draw a kind of cycle starting from grammar, translation, method in the past. And then from grammar, translation method, and then direct method. And then audio-lingual method. I got a lot of experience with audio-lingual method because it was established in the 1960s to 1990s, and I was the product of audio-lingual method. So when you learn English, you have to be able to speak like native speaker. But of course, nowadays, people questions about who are the native speakers. So some of the paradigm is EFL or ELL, English as a foreign language or English as lingua franca. But this term is still debatable issue. Maybe it's English in Indonesia is totally different from English in India. Maybe in India, already establish the paradigm of ELF, English as lingua franca, but not yet in India.
English as a second language.
English as second language. It's different terms. English as second language, English as a foreign language, English as a first language, okay? Okay, so we have also in 1970s, the designer method that was much influenced by humanism, that is like community language learning, Suggestopedia, silent way, etc. In Indonesia, maybe most of you will still remember with the term paikem, even paikem gembrot. It is a kind of teaching methodology recommended by the government, especially to underline the importance of communication. Because in the past, English is not for communication. What is the goal of teaching? The goal of teaching is for reading. If the students able to read, understand, comprehension, not production. Because they are wondering about the language they want to speak with, not native speaker in Indonesia. And a natural approach is not quite popular in Indonesia, but the theory is very popular, especially second language acquisition by Russian is very popular. Yeah, the ways of understanding or acquiring language through acquisition or through learning. But in Indonesian context, language is acquired through learning. So learning, not acquisition, but learning. So language learning in Indonesian Second language acquisition in Indonesian context is actually language learning. So of course totally different from second language acquisition in India, second language acquisition in Singapore. But second language acquisition in Indonesia is language learning within a classroom context. So this is, you can see the cyclical pattern, always change. So no problem with change. Yeah? No problem with change. No problem at all. You have to adaptive with change. If not, you'll get confused. Okay, so I want you to go back to long time ago. You're still somewhere there in Lokil Mahfud, still in the form of spirit, not yet created Mintin, tin, but still in the form of spirit there in Lokil Mahfud, 1954. I was born in 1957. So 1952, we already got kind of curriculum in Indonesia. So 1954, 1962, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this is our past. We have to understand our past. We have to understand our history. Become wise by understanding our history. So we know what we are now by understanding the past. 2001, 2004. Okay, I'll start with 2004. Of course, you remember, yeah, especially teachers, yeah, who are quite acquainted with genre-based instruction. Because mostly all friends who work at Curriculum Center graduated from Australia. Long time ago, English teaching in Indonesia is much colored by Bloomfieldians. Because mostly all scholars who work at Curriculum Center graduated from United States. But starting from 2004, mostly all of them graduated from Australia. So they brought with them to Indonesia Holiday and Hassan instead of 5 minutes. And then curriculum 2013. So this is the curriculum that is recommended by the government right now is curriculum 2013. So we can see this from classical and then behavioristic tradition, cognitive tradition, humanistic tradition, second language acquisition tradition, constructivist tradition, and 21st century traditions. You are here, constructivist tradition, especially with genre-based instruction. And nowadays, the government recommends us to use scientific approach. When you present scientific approach to scholars outside Indonesia, maybe they don't quite understand what is scientific approach, because Jack Richard does not write about scientific approach. This is a teaching methodology. Last time I questioned Jack Richard, what is the scientific approach? It's teaching methodology that's come from the air. It comes from the air. Yeah. So I can trace back scientific approach from science, yeah, scientific process, and then scientific process as foreign language teaching methodology. And then the government recommended us to use this scientific process like 5M. 5M. You remember that? 5M. Okay? So this classical tradition, grammar in the past, behaviorism, audiolingual method. I don't want to talk about it. This is typical. So there was presenter. So the behaviorism, cognitivism, humanism. Behaviorism change, skill. So if you want to change the student's skill, that's behavioristic way. Change schemata, cognitive. Of course, we have to use cognitive perspective. Humanism, change the attitude. If you want your teaching learning process enjoyable, of course, humanistic way. So we have to understand this. Behaviorism, cognitivism, humanism, and constructivism. The principle in cognitivism, okay, on and on, humanism, okay. Humanistic teacher, constructivism. Okay, so especially the constructivism, the principle recommended by the government to be used in implementing foreign language teaching methodology in Indonesia is especially from Vygotsky, with zone of proximal development. So guys, yeah. Learning starts from being object regulated, and then others regulated. So the students learn each other in a group, and then self-regulated. The students learn themselves. Like what is presented by Professor, we learn from somebody else. That is others regulated. Object regulated first, and then others regulated, and then finally self-regulated. And this principle is implemented in foreign language teaching methodology, especially curriculum 2013 with scientific approach. 5M. Observation, questioning, yeah, associating, and then the last is, what is it, communicating. So this is zone of proximal development. If we learn by ourselves, our knowledge will only reach to the developmental stage, but we cannot achieve potential development. We can only achieve current development if we learn by ourselves. But if we learn with others, we can achieve the potential development. So that's why the importance of more knowledgeable others, because he called MEO, more knowledgeable others, or significant others. If we implement this in the classroom, means that the students learn together with the teachers and of course with other peers. So this is proximal development. We can see Vygotsky, constructivism, adopted by Derwinka and then Zangretti's instruction as well as curriculum 2000. Of course, some teachers are quite knowledgeable with these stages. The building knowledge of will, MOT, modeling of text, GCOT, joint construction of text, and then the last, ICOT, individual construction of text. We no longer use these, but actually more or less the same, but only different terminology. Yeah, different terminology. This is what we did in 2004. Okay. Oh yes, the last. Okay, 21st century. Currently we are now in 21st century editions. What is 21st century? We are acknowledged with the term 21st century skill. 21st century skill? There are some scholars who talk about 21st century skills, so I can, 7 skill in 21st century skill: critical thinking, creativity, collaborations, yeah, cross-cultural understanding, etc. Because students now are global citizens, yeah, global citizens. They communicate with people all over the world. Not long time ago, I only communicate with, friend in one village. But nowadays, students who are they're knowledgeable in English, they can have friends from all over the world. So, having the competencies of cross-cultural understanding is very important. And then communication, media literacy, computing ICT, career and learning. Okay? Okay, implication in language teaching. So code switching is maybe common if we use this term, ELF or ELF. Which exam, whether we have to speak like American or British or Canadians, or so which exam. So the purpose of English language teaching has moved from mimicking cultural talk about inner circle, outer circle, and then extended circle. The inner circle, English as a first language, British, American, Canadian, Australian. Outer circle, English as second language, like India, Ibu Mira, Singapore, Philippines, and then extended circle, English as a foreign language, like in Indonesia. In Africa, English is second language. So in the past, especially in the audiovisual method, so we have to, use the different kind of technique of mimicking, different technique of, repetition, because we have to speak like the inner circle. Okay, enough. Okay, good. Thank you very much. So, the last but not the least, ELF or EFL. It's still debatable issue again, whether English as lingua franca or English as a foreign language. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.